Tonight, escalating clashes threatening a regional war. The major uptick in violence in the Middle East tonight after an Israeli airstrike killed a top Hezbollah commander of an elite unit. That strike hitting a populated neighborhood just hours after Israel's Iron Dome intercepted more than 140 rockets from Lebanon. We'll have both sides of this fast-moving story for you tonight. Plus,
we're saying that we're going to create public policy that says that a doctor, a healthcare provider, will only kick in to give the care that somebody needs if they're about to die? Think about what we are saying right now.
The big moves on the campaign trail as 3 key states open early voting today. Vice President Kamala Harris swings through Georgia, criticizing former President Donald Trump for restricting reproductive rights. And the Secret Service making a stunning admission, laying out the failures that led to the first attempted assassination of Trump. And
I learned the same history that they taught kids all over America, that George Washington cut down his cherry tree, that Ben Franklin flew his kite, and Abe was honest. Guess what was missing? Us, the Latino contributions to this country.
John Leguizamo has been a major Hollywood player, putting pressure on Tinseltown to promote Hispanic voices for years. Tonight, he sits down with us to discuss his latest project, and we take a look at the Chicano movement permeating everyday life for millions nationwide. Good evening, I'm Phil Lipoff in tonight for Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We have a lot of news to get to tonight, but we are going to begin with the race for the White House. 46 days now to the election and the increasing fight in those critical battleground states, with in-person early voting now underway in parts of this country. Vice President Kamala Harris making an emotional appeal in Atlanta, telling the story of a Georgia woman who she says died as a result of the state's strict abortion ban. And another headline from Georgia tonight, changing how some votes are counted. We'll have more on that in a moment. Former President Trump, meantime, heading to must-win North Carolina. Even as scandal continues to swirl around Republican candidate for governor Mark Robinson, who Trump has praised as, and these are his words, better than Martin Luther King Jr. We'll have more on early voting in a moment, and also our Rachel Scott is standing by with more on the former president. But first, our Mary Bruce leads us off from Washington.
Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris in battleground Georgia, a state that is putting a new spotlight on one of her campaign's key issues, abortion.
This is a health care crisis, and Donald Trump is the architect of this crisis.
Former President Donald Trump has boasted of appointing 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade. Georgia then implemented a law banning abortion at 6 weeks before most women even know they're pregnant. Harris today shining a light on the death of 28-year-old mother Amber Thurman, pointing to a ProPublica report saying she is the first woman known to lose her life as a result of Georgia's abortion ban.
We will speak her name, Amber Nicole Thurman. Amber Nicole Thurman.
Amber Nicole Thurman. After a medication abortion out of state was incomplete, Thurman suffered a grave infection. Her doctors waited 20 hours to operate. By then, it was too late, and she died. Overnight, Harris meeting with Thurman's mother at an event hosted by Oprah Winfrey.
I want y'all to know Amber was not a statistic. She was loved by a family, a strong family. And we would have done whatever to get my baby, our baby, the help that she needed.
I'm just so sorry.
Today, Harris blasting Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, as hypocrites.
The other folks, Trump and his running mate, and they'll talk about, oh, yeah, but I do believe in the exception to save the mother's life. Okay, all right, let's break that down, shall we? Let's break that down. We're saying that we're going to create public policy that says that a doctor, a healthcare provider, will only kick in to give the care that somebody needs if they're about to die? Think about what we are saying right now.
Harris arguing Thurman's death may be the first we are hearing of, but it won't be the last.
We knew this could happen. There is a word preventable, and there is another word, predictable.
Let's get right to Mary now. Mary, the vice president in Georgia today, now headed to Wisconsin, but there was another major headline out of Georgia today, a key ruling from the state election board. Tell us more about that.
Well, Phil, the Georgia State Election Board today, in a move spearheaded by Trump's supporters, approved a ruling that would require all ballots cast on Election Day be counted by hand, in addition to the customary machine count. Now, the decision is expected to be challenged in court, but if this holds, it could lead to a chaotic count and would certainly delay results in the critical state well beyond election night, Phil.
All right, Mary Bruce from the White House tonight. Mary, thank you.
Thank you.
Former President Trump is headed to North Carolina tomorrow amid the growing scandal involving the Republican candidate for governor there in that state. Trump strongly endorsed Mark Robinson, once calling him Martin Luther King on steroids. Here's Rachel Scott.
Former President Donald Trump preparing to head to North Carolina, a long-planned rally in a must-win state. But it comes as scandal swirls around Trump's chosen candidate for North Carolina governor, Republican Mark Robinson. Trump has heaped praise on Robinson.
I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2.
And tonight, Trump is standing by the candidate, even as CNN reports Robinson made a series of racist and inflammatory online posts, including one where he called himself a, quote, black Nazi. ABC News has not independently confirmed the reporting. CNN says Robinson made the comments between 2008 and 2012 on a pornographic website. The Republican, who was railed against transgender Americans, also allegedly posted about watching transgender pornography, calling himself, quote, a perv. And according to CNN, Robinson wrote that slavery is not bad, adding he wished it would come back. Robinson calls the report tabloid trash.
Those are not the words of Mark Robinson.
After the story broke, the Trump campaign releasing a statement calling North Carolina a vital part of their plan to win back the White House.
Thank you.
But no mention at all of Mark Robinson. And as of tonight, Trump has not withdrawn his endorsement. The Harris campaign quick to highlight their connection in a new ad.
I've been with him a lot. I've gotten to know him, and he's outstanding.
Donald Trump and Mark Robinson. They're both wrong for North Carolina.
And Rachel joins us now. Rachel, any word from the Trump campaign here?
Well, what is clear is that the former president believes that North Carolina is absolutely vital to his chances of winning the White House. We know that sources within the campaign have really been trying to put some distance between Donald Trump and Mark Robinson. And I'm learning tonight that Robinson is not expected to attend Donald Trump's rally in that state tomorrow. At the same time, Phil, Trump has no plans of withdrawing his endorsement.
All right, Rachel Scott tonight. Rachel, thank you. Joining us now are voices from both the Republican and Democratic side. Republican strategist Tricia McLaughlin and the president of Next Gen America, Cristina Sansun Ramirez. Thank you both for taking the time to join us and talk about this. Tricia, let's start with you. In 2020, former President Trump and Republicans were urging voters to vote in person on Election Day. Now it seems to be there's more of a push to talk about the importance of early voting. How important is that this year for Republicans?
I think it's the name of the game. It's the nuts and bolts of politics. Your message might be great, but if you're not getting your voters out there to vote, then the ball game's completely changed. Keep in mind, in 2020, about 40% of Pennsylvania voters voted by mail, and about 50% of Wisconsin and Michigan voters voted by mail as well. So, of course, this was during a pandemic, but Republicans have to play the same game that Democrats play, which is early voting, legal ballot harvesting, doing everything we can to get our voters out there to the ballot box, whether it be in person, by mail, or absentee.
Cristina, let's turn to you. Your organization is the largest youth voting organization in the USA. Do young voters prefer to vote ahead of Election Day?
Well, we try and get them to vote as early as possible, but young voters are that core constituency that if you ever organize them, they will give you heart palpitations because they like to show up on Election Day. But we're in Virginia. It's a state that early voting starts today. It's quite incredible. Early voting already starting in some key states across the country. And so making sure that people vote early allows them to make sure they are able to miss lines or be able to adjust their schedules, especially for people that are students or working families. Early voting is a great option that people should utilize, and it's underutilized.
Tricia, Republicans in Pennsylvania, such an important state, are suing election officials to try to prevent them from letting voters correct technical problems with their mail-in ballots. More than half of states allow voters to fix errors. Everybody makes mistakes, I think it's fair to say. Do you think, though, voters should be able to fix a mistake with their ballot?
Of course, everybody makes mistakes, but that's up to the Pennsylvania House of Representatives to change the law. The Secretary of State cannot go rogue and change the law unilaterally. Let's really lay out the facts here. In 2020, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court held that these voters could not change the ballots. They could not submit this if the instructions were not followed. That means that election officials have to carry out those voter laws. That's what they need to do. They are administer the laws and they enforce them. They cannot rewrite them unilaterally. So understandably and rightfully so, the RNC and Pennsylvania GOP are suing to make sure that we're actually following the laws. There's different rules going out to different people in Pennsylvania. That's creating massive voter confusion, and it's also making the ballots ripe for fraud.
And Christina, as discussed a little bit earlier in the broadcast, the Georgia Election Board approved a new 11th set of rule changes today that requires county election boards to hand count ballots cast on Election Day and then compare the results to the electronic voting machines. The Office of the Republican State Attorney General wrote in an opinion that the change was unlawful. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we have seen in Georgia the Elections Commission board be overtaken by Trump supporters that are intending to really make it incredibly difficult to vote, to rig the rules. This has been a long-term plan post-2020 when lawsuit after lawsuit that Trump and the Republicans lost, claiming voter fraud. They've now taken over these boards to try and change the rules in their favor. This is very dangerous to democracy and could have a huge impact on the election. And we go back to what was just said about Pennsylvania. Again, we're talking about people maybe forgetting to put their signature on their ballot or not putting the date correctly, and then being offered the opportunity to simply correct that so that they can exercise the most fundamental American right. And again, half of states already allow this. And so this is just another attempt, a power grab by the GOP. Instead of making sure that they're able to win on the merit of their ideas, they're trying to win by rigging the rules in their favor.
All right, well, that one will be hashed out in court. I just quickly before we go, I want to know what keeps both of you up at night in regards to the 2024 election. One thing, Tricia.
We got to stick on policy, 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 immigration, the economy, inflation. If we stay on that, I think the GOP wins across the board.
Christina?
I think there's so much at stake this election. As a woman that lives in one of the states, one in 3 women of reproductive age that have had my reproductive rights taken back 50 years, that keeps me up at night. And the future of my son with the climate crisis barreling down, knowing that we have a candidate that doesn't even believe it's real.
Well, you both lay out the sides very well. Thank you so much for taking the time, Tricia McLaughlin and Christina Sinton-Ramirez. We thank you both.
Thank you.
Next tonight, to the major escalation between Israel and the terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israeli airstrikes taking out one of Hezbollah's most senior members in a densely packed neighborhood. At least 14 people killed, dozens more injured. The desperate search now for survivors and bodies. Israel saying the target, Ibrahim Akil, was wanted by the U.S. for the devastating bombing of the U.S. Embassy and Marine barracks in Lebanon back in 1983. 300 Americans died there. Here's ABC's Martha Raddatz.
Tonight in Lebanon's capital city, a targeted strike. Israeli warplanes launching missiles into the heart of Hezbollah territory. The dead, including one of the militant group's top commanders. Ibrahim Akil was a member of the group's Islamic Jihad organization, wanted by the U.S. for his role in the massive bombings of the American Embassy and Marine Corps barracks in the Lebanese capital back in 1983.
This is the worst attack there has ever been against the United States in the Middle East.
More than 300 Americans were killed in the bombings. The strike today reducing this Beirut block to smoking rubble. Rescue workers digging through the remains of flattened buildings. Our Marcus Moore in Beirut.
This strike happened just before rush hour here in Beirut, and it marks the third major attack on a civilian part of the city just this week.
According to Lebanese officials, at least 14 were killed, dozens more injured, the deadliest direct strike by Israel in Lebanon since October 7th. The Israeli Defense Forces claiming to have eliminated other top Hezbollah operators who were hiding out underground. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warning in a statement today, "Our goals are clear and our actions speak for themselves." But earlier, Hezbollah launched its own strikes, air raid sirens sounding in northern Israel, with more than 100 rockets fired from Lebanon, a show of force by the militant group, crippled after this week's explosive attacks on their communications devices.
And Martha joins us now. Martha, tension must be increasing there, both in Israel and in Lebanon and in the north, where they share that border.
It certainly is, Phil. And tonight, the national alert level here in Israel for emergency medical services has been raised to its highest level, meaning maximum level in case of war. But U.S. officials say they do not see signs that an Israeli ground incursion into Lebanon is imminent. Phil?
Martha Raddatz tonight from Tel Aviv. Martha, thank you. All right, for more, let's bring in Mick Mulroy, ABC News defense analyst and the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. Mick, thanks for your time. It's always good to have you to talk through these things. Why were these Hezbollah commanders strategic targets?
Well, Phil, for the first part of that, the main individual killed, Ibrahim Akil, was wanted for decades by the United States. There was a multi-million-dollar reward up for him. He was for his involvement in the attacks in 1983, both against the embassy and the Marine barracks. So this wasn't just a success for Israel. This was a success for the United States and all that was that perished during those attacks. But these were also the leadership of the Rabwan, which is the special operations component of Hezbollah, and not just him, but all of his leadership. It may have been that they got together because they could not communicate in any other manner since they had dissed the cell phones. And of course, pagers and the handheld radios had proved not only ineffective, but very dangerous to them. So that might have been the reason why they all came together and why Israel was able to have such an impact on the battlefield.
Take a wider look with me, if you will. Can you put this escalation between Hezbollah and Israel into context? We know the two have been trading attacks along the border between Lebanon and Israel, for almost a year now, since October 6th and even before October 7th. What does that mean now?
Well, the main effect of that exchange, Phil, is that about 70,000 Israelis have been displaced from the northern part of Israel. So essentially 1/3 of Israel is not occupied, is not being able to have civilians live in it, and they've been displaced into the central and south of Israel. And this is something that's unacceptable to the Israeli government and, quite frankly, the Israeli people. So this is why I think there is so much attention right now by the Israeli government, by the Israeli security apparatus, if you will, on what to do about this. And that's why the White House has sent Amos Hochstein out there to really try to come up with a solution to this. And the only solution that it seems to be acceptable to the Israelis is that Hezbollah withdraws to the Litani River, which is required under UN Resolution 1701. But it would also give the civilians in Israel the comfort that they would have to be able to return to their towns.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said today that, quote, "Our goals are clear and our actions speak for themselves," end quote. What are U.S. officials saying about whether Israel is preparing to carry out some kind of ground incursion in Lebanon?
So, of course, the U.S. would really like to see this de-escalate and go the other directions, starting with a ceasefire agreement in Gaza, which is unfortunately seeming to get further and further away. But if the policy, if the strategy of Israel is to push Hezbollah to the Litani River, then they can't do that by air alone. It has to be a combination of air and ground forces, something they probably would not like to do. They've had bad experiences in the past, around 2006, with that. But if they feel that this is the only way, unless Hezbollah takes the agreement and actually withdraws, which would be very politically difficult for them, then the only way to do so is a ground incursion, which, of course, could send everything up the escalatory ladder, pull in Iran, and potentially even pull in the U.S. militarily, at least from the air. Something the U.S. certainly doesn't want to see, but wouldn't be good for either of those two countries or the region.
Something that has been a worry now for a long time, particularly over this past year. Mick Mulroy, thanks so much, as always, for your time.
Thanks, Al.
Back here in the U.S., the sheriff charged in the murder of a judge in Kentucky. That news breaking just as we came on 24 hours ago. Authorities say the sheriff shot the judge multiple times in his chambers. Lawyers in that community say the two were actually good friends once. Here's ABC's Faith Abube with the latest reporting.
Tonight, a tight-knit Kentucky community shaken. Its sheriff now charged with murder, accused of fatally shooting a judge in his chambers after an argument.
That's Letcher County Courthouse. That shot's fired.
Authorities rushing to the Letcher County Courthouse southeast of Lexington, Kentucky, just before 3 p.m. Thursday, finding 54-year-old District Court Judge Kevin Mullins shot multiple times.
Life-saving measures were taken. However, we're unsuccessful.
Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins arrested without incident. Tonight, he's facing one count of first-degree murder. The motive still unclear.
We know that it was an argument between the two that led up, but what exactly transpired prior to the shots being fired, still things that we're trying to get answers to.
The sheriff, a former bailiff in the judge's courtroom.
Mickey and Kevin were really close and good friends. I never saw any hostilities between them.
Just 3 days before the shooting, the sheriff deposed in a federal lawsuit a former inmate accusing him of failing to adequately train and supervise a deputy who sexually abused her in 2021 in the judge's chamber. The complaint does not allege the judge was aware or did anything wrong. The county's prosecutor recusing his office from the case, saying the judge was a former brother-in-law whom his children called Unky.
I always thought he was very witty. He was fun to be around outside of court.
Faith joins us now. Faith, what more can you tell us about where this investigation goes from here?
Well, Phil, the state attorney general has vowed to pursue justice. In the meantime, a spokesperson for state police tells me they do have video of the deadly incident, but this investigation continues. We should remind our viewers that this judge leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Phil.
All right, Faith Abube, thank you. Ahead of the first House task force hearing next week, the acting head of the Secret Service today blaming his own agency for a litany of failures that allowed a gunman to fire at former President Trump at that rally back in July. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, a damning new internal report from the Secret Service revealing extraordinary communication and planning failures leading up to the attempted assassination of former President Trump in Pennsylvania. And a stunning admission of a lack of diligence by the Secret Service.
There was complacency on the part of others that led to a breach of security protocols.
Acting Director Ronald Rowe admitting agents never had a plan to secure the roof of a nearby building with a clear line of sight on Trump.
Yeah, look, there he is.
And never heard in real time local police radio traffic that the suspect was identified with a gun on that roof.
So there was a lack of clarity that roof should be secure, period, full stop.
There was discussion about how the roof was going to be secured, and I think what it came back to is we should have challenged how that mechanism was being implemented, meaning we should have been more direct.
But tonight, Rowe praising agents who protected former President Trump over the weekend in Florida during the second apparent attempt on his life.
It appears that those agents, those supervisors, made swift decisions and made correct decisions.
And Pierre joins us now. Pierre, will any of these agents be punished for this security failure, as it's being called?
Well, the Secret Service director is vowing employees involved in the Butler rally who failed to meet standards will be held accountable, noting that the agency has, quote, a robust table of penalties, Phil.
More to come. All right, Pierre Thomas from the nation's capital. Pierre, thank you. We turn now to the horrific crash involving multiple firefighters. Several rushed to the hospital after their fire truck flipped on a California highway. Here's Kana Whitworth tonight.
Tonight, authorities in Orange County, California, investigating after this horrific crash that nearly killed a fire crew coming back from the front lines. Just before 7 p.m., the fire truck swerving to try and avoid a ladder in the middle of the freeway, rolling over multiple times. The mangled ladder seen on the pavement.
You can see the entire length of that incident, about 500 feet from the ladder to the resting spot of that firefighting truck there. You can see what is left of this transport vehicle. It is completely demolished.
The truck carrying an 8-member Orange County Fire hand crew on their way back from working a 12-hour shift digging lines and clearing brush on the airport fire that's burned more than 23,000 acres near Los Angeles.
All of the families were immediately notified. Our crews, as you can imagine, are devastated.
Our thanks to Kana tonight from Los Angeles. There is still much more to get to here on Prime. A disturbing admission of guilt from the foster family entrusted to care for the Turpin siblings who escaped years of torture at the hands of their parents. But next in our Prime Focus, we mark the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month by exploring the Chicano community, how artists are using their work as a way to educate about the culture and as a form of resistance.
Amanda Riley was a mother, wife, speaker at her church.
Everybody loved her.
She got diagnosed with cancer.
I heard the words, "You have stage 3 blood cancer."
We thought she was God's gift.
When Amanda told me she had cancer, I was so devastated.
A beloved young Christian woman fighting a battle undeserved.
We gave our hearts, our prayers.
Everybody put their hands over her and said, "Heal this woman. Oh God, heal her."
I'm thankful that I have cancer because I am now surrounded by the right people in my life.
There was just something inside of me just saying, this isn't right.
And then all of a sudden, it went dark.
She was a liar.
Why would somebody fake cancer?
Thousands of people threw money at her.
I started donating $500 a month, $3,000, $20,000.
The community raised $100,000.
Everyone's lives has been touched by cancer, and that was something Amanda tapped into.
What surprised me is the lengths that she went to fake the cancer. There's all these pictures of her in the hospital with IVs, tubing.
I could see a nurse in the background.
The information that Amanda gave didn't make sense. These things are not adding up. I don't think she's sick.
Everyone knows. She was being accused of faking cancer.
Everyone knows.
I could not believe the level she had taken this scam to.
This is beyond disgusting.
How can a mother do that? This is an absolute nightmare. She hurt tons of people. I've never felt so betrayed. She ripped apart my family. I'm sorry. I'm still shaking. Is this normal?
Why would somebody fake such a horrible disease? It was only a matter of time until Amanda's whole world came tumbling down.
Oh my God! I was like, ha, you're lying and you're getting caught. This is over. But it wasn't. Not even close.
Scamanda premieres October 9th on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Shohei Ohtani, legends of the game. But now the list of greats redefined. From ABC News, Reclaim the Forgotten League, a side of the story of baseball you have never heard before like this. The award-winning podcast is back. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or scan the QR codes you see here.
Let's go.
We are heading into the unknown.
Oh my gosh.
We just saw what no one has seen before.
Well, dead ahead. Target!
Hammer, hammer, hammer. It doesn't get any more cutting edge than this.
Welcome back. This week marks the official start of Hispanic Heritage Month in the United States, kicking off a month of celebration for the histories, cultures, and contributions of the community. We'll be marking the occasion across ABC News Live all month. But tonight, we want to revisit a piece of cultural movement behind the name millions in the community go by, Chicano. Our next story helps us get into the soul of that movement, what it was and where it stands today through art that explores identity with style and blends legacy with agency.
I think it's important for every person to know who they are.
who their ancestors are. We're made of the dust and the blood and the dirt of the places we're from.
The word Chicano, the Aztecs were actually the Mexicas, so X is CH, so they were the Mexicanos. And so Chicano is half of the word Mexicano. And so it also has indigenous origins. It really becomes politicized in the 1960s with the beginning of the Chicano movement, and was occurring at the same time in the United States as like the Black Power movement.
We've been right here for a long time. We were here before the Pilgrims got here.
Well, that's true. The Mexican has been somewhat the stepchild of the civil rights movement, is what you're saying.
Right.
We're like the rejects of society, but we rise up with the culture that we created for ourselves.
The acceptance of a derogatory term and turning it into a form of resistance is saying that we refuse to accept assimilation as our fate, that we have to reject our language and our culture and our character, in a sense, and our history to be American.
Our people are just going to be ready to not take any more of the harassment from the police. I think that the sheriffs, prove the point that for the Chicano, the war is more here in the struggle for justice than over in Vietnam.
A los ricos y a los pobres se les canta esta canción. Se ha llegado ya la hora de movernos en unión.
Art, really in the 60s, becomes politicized.
In Chicano art, the art was about affirmation, and it was about resistance.
There is an expression here in the barrio that says black people pick up the match and burn to fight their battles, but Chicanos will pick up the gun. Most people are hoping it's just that, an expression.
My mother said I was trying to get even with the valley. She said, you put the Great Wall up to get even with the valley.
Murals become a wonderful canvas to not just create art in our community and transform neighborhoods that the broader society sees as like ghettos or barrios.
I began as an artist doing this work because I wanted to reach a particular audience. I had to go where that audience was. It never was not activism. The Great Wall is focused on local stories within the context of a larger thing happening in the country. I mean, it's hard to ignore the civil rights movement as a whole, but the reason that that is there is because it's a story that we lived through at a moment of civil rights activism, 1969. I think part of it is for us to actually elevate the stories of the people from our communities and from the places we come from, so we know that there's something to celebrate, that there are amazing things.
We made an impression on ourselves, towards the community.
I remember being somewhat distant from like the Brown Berets and the Chicanismo. I realized that what they were marching for were rights for our community and to be treated fairly. I got into being a cholo gangster in the Chicano culture. I really felt my place was with my barrio. I was in juvenile hall and I was waiting in a cell, and they brought this older kid in there, He told me, how to do tattoos, how to get a needle, wrap it with thread and dip it in the ink. I was a part of a group of tattoo artists in the 1970s that introduced Chicano-style black and gray tattooing to the tattoo world. When black and gray first started, the whole thing was that we wanted our tattoos to look more realistic. We didn't have color in prison, but we wanted our tattoos to not look cartoony. So we wanted a fine line and then the rest shading. The shading is the most important part. I finally ended up in Youth Authority, which is like California prison for teenagers. When I did get out, and I did get hired by Ed Hardy and Jack Rudy to work at Good Time Charlie's in East LA, That's when I really try to push our thing as an art. We've always had beautiful things to offer the world. Just look at the whole lowrider scene. Who would have thought to do that with old cars?
I don't know, when I saw the first lowrider, man, it was like a whole different thing, you know? Nothing like a lowrider. I consider myself a custom car builder. I do everything, from the bottom up. Depends what the customer wants. If they want just chrome it, gold plate it, engrave it.
Lowrider culture really begins post-World War II. Hot rods have an earlier origin of the 1930s, but what I think both cultures share is that when people look at your car, they're looking at you.
This guy has all the pictures from his family inside the car. When people talk about how a lowrider community is, this is how family-oriented is lowrider. This car, the owner is George. His daughter, she went to war, so everything that he's doing is dedicated to her.
The car becomes very much tied to people's sense of their identity, and for Black and brown folks, lowriding became a way to create a sense of community.
It's not just a brand. Lowrider is a culture.
That's what the Chicano culture is, you know, it's style, it's language, art, and customizing our lives and our cars and our dress.
Our history is one that celebrates beauty, that celebrates art.
Today, I think the term Chicano can include others, people who have come to the same conclusions, that being able to accept who they are and to begin to speak from that positionality and in fact educate those who are not Latino, for example, that's the way we're going to change this nation and preserve our democracy.
Yeah, and that is certainly something to celebrate. There is still much more to get to here tonight. Coming up, a guilty plea from the U.S. Army private who ran into North Korea. But next, a history-making night for one of baseball's brightest stars. A look at one of the greatest individual performances and seasons in Major League history. Shohei Ohtani by the numbers.
Did you kill Mary Yoder?
Sorry. No, I did not kill Mary Yoder. So it was a normal day until Mary started getting sick. No one really knew what was happening.
Her eyes just looked terrified. In less than 48 hours, my mom went from her healthy self to having died.
This is a mystery. How did she die? They begin to do this autopsy.
It's just screaming, toxin, toxin, toxin.
Did somebody intentionally do this to her?
When the tests came back, I thought, holy, are you kidding me?
I had dated Adam. I was scared of him. It changed the way I see the world.
She was really afraid for her life.
I do think Bill could have killed Mary. His wife died in July, and in November, he was dating his sister-in-law.
There was nothing in the world that was making sense at that point.
Caitlin Conley was guilty as sin.
Are you okay?
I'm scared.
This girl thought she was smarter than everybody else. But there's another side to Caitlin Conley.
Well, I'm not buying this little Miss Innocent game.
Sequoia's a very small town. Everybody knows everybody.
My garden club is very divided. People think she's innocent. I think she's guilty.
Never heard of a case like this. Maybe a thriller.
It was pure evil.
We weren't quite sure what was coming next.
I know it wasn't me. Sorry. So, if it wasn't me, who was it?
Little Miss Innocent. Passion, poison, prison. Only on Hulu.
ABC News, America's #1 news source. ABC's David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast. Tonight, the 2020 season premiere.
Dr. Garcia!
Go inside a murder mystery.
Dr. Garcia, police department!
As it unravels.
Oh my God, Dr. Garcia was deceased on the couch.
How could this have happened?
An enduring and deep mystery filled with sick twists, shocking turns.
Tonight,
secrets will be revealed.
Cold-Blooded, the 2020 season premiere. Tonight at 9/8 Central on ABC.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food.
It's all coming up on GMA3.
You're gonna love it. We'll see you then.
GMA3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know.
I love that.
Me too.
Reporting from the 2024 Democratic Convention in Chicago, I'm Jay O'Brien. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Watching this guy. Oh my gosh! Shohei Ohtani! The greatest day in baseball history!
The greatest day in baseball history. Not just an overstatement regarding what Shohei Ohtani of the Los Angeles Dodgers achieved Thursday, setting multiple single games and single season records with a performance for the ages that is now tonight's by the numbers. With 3 home runs and 2 steals against the Miami Marlins, Ohtani became the first player in MLB history with at least 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in a single season. But it's a record he actually broke weeks prior because no player before him has ever had more than 42 home runs and stolen bases in a single season, a record Alex Rodriguez set way back in 1998. Yet, we are just scratching the surface. Listen to this, because in yesterday's near mythical game, Ohtani also became the 16th player in history with 10 or more runs batted in a single game, and just the 15th player in history with 5 extra base hits in a single game. And until yesterday, no player, 0 is the number, had ever had a single game with 6 hits, 5 extra base hits, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, and 2 steals. All of that might explain why Ohtani recently signed a 10-year, $700 million contract, the richest in the history of sports. Much of that cash is deferred and won't be paid to him for decades, though it still comes out to more than $430,000 per game or $48,000 per inning. But who's counting? There is much more ahead here on Prime. Up next, General Motors recalling more than 400,000 vehicles because of a defect. Plus, inside the mission to uncover the untold history of Latinos. Our conversation with John Leguizamo as he brings those stories to light this Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month.
Hi, my name is Patrice. I am a totally cool person with a disability who could do most anything.
Patrice always sees the best side of life.
Patrice is a big magnet for people.
If it can be done, she will do it.
I really love Gary. He's everything.
He just looked at her and I said, "Would you like to be my wife?"
If you get married and you're collecting a Social Security benefit, your benefit will be cut.
We have to have it. We'd never be able to pay for the bills.
I don't take anything for granted.
To us. To us.
You're a part-time lover and a full-time friend. The monkey on your back is the latest trend. I don't see what anyone can see in anyone else. People think people with disabilities have no value.
You need to tell your story and people can listen and say, this is why benefits are extremely important.
I don't see what anyone I want to get married. I want to be able to live in the same house as my spouse. Here is the church and
They can stop us from getting married. They can stop us from living together, but they're never going to stop us from loving each other.
this law needs to change.
and we're gonna do what we have to do to make this happen.
Patrice is good at making dreams come true.
Who wants to get married?
You're something else, you know that?
Yeah.
After Israel's targeted bombings against Hezbollah, Martha Raddatz reports from Tel Aviv. Plus, the race to the White House with just 6 weeks to go. Sunday on ABC's This Week.
Sex, lies, and a double murder.
2 small children were kidnapped.
Your mom and dad are gonna be right here waiting on you when you get home.
When the twist came, then it completely exploded.
It's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, and people don't know about it.
What kind of mother would kill her own children?
After nearly 30 years in prison, Smith now has a chance at parole. Could the woman once dubbed the most hated mom in America go free?
Killer Mom, now streaming on Hulu. The stars are shining on GMA next week. Kristen Bell and Adam Brody, Kate Winslet, Uzo Aduba, Shailene Woodley, Niecy Nash, Divine Joy Randolph, Javier Bardem. New Kids on the Block next week on
Good Morning America!
Nightline. The stories that shape your world, that shape your life. Dramatic, stunning, empowering, jaw-dropping. The most powerful stories of our time. Nightline, on right after Kimmel and streaming on Hulu.
Welcome back. A guilty plea from the U.S. Army private who ran into North Korea. General Motors recalls hundreds of thousands of cars, and a Puerto Rican superstar honoring hurricane victims with a new song 7 years after the tragedy. These stories and more in tonight's rundown.
The U.S. Army private who ran into North Korea pled guilty to desertion and a host of other charges in a court-martial hearing. You'll remember this last image of Travis King joining a tour group in South Korea just before he ran across the DMZ in July of last year. North Korea released him after 2 months. During the hearing, the 24-year-old said he was dissatisfied with work and wanted to leave the Army. He also said he was diagnosed with mental health conditions. 3 members of a foster family in Southern California pled guilty to abusing several Turpin children and others in their care. Marcelino Olguin pleaded guilty to 9 counts against him, including lewd acts, false imprisonment, and injuring a child. He will now have to register as a sex offender and spend 7 years in state prison. His wife Rosa and adult daughter Lennis also entered guilty pleas, with sentencing set for October. The Turpin children were placed in the care of this foster family after escaping nightmare conditions from their parents, who were handed down life sentences. New York City's COVID czar is facing backlash for allegedly participating in a sex party and dance party during the pandemic. Dr. Jay Varma admitted to participating in 2 private gatherings while urging New Yorkers to stay home. He released a statement after a conservative podcaster posted video of Varma talking about the parties. Varma says the video was secretly recorded, spliced, diced, and taken out of context. General Motors is recalling nearly 500,000 trucks and SUVs. A brake fluid warning light could fail in the GM vehicles that could increase the risk of a crash. Drivers could notice the brake pedal goes down further than it should without any dashboard heads up. That's according to federal highway traffic regulators. The recall covers certain 2023 and 24 models of Chevrolet Silverado 1500, Tahoe, Suburban, GMC Sierra and Yukons, and Cadillac Escalades. No word of any crashes or injuries. The Federal Trade Commission is suing U.S. prescription drug middlemen, accusing them of inflating insulin prices. The FTC is suing the 3 largest drug pharmacy benefit managers, which the agency says handle 80% of prescriptions in the U.S. The FTC says the companies focused on getting high rebates from drug makers instead of keeping costs low for consumers. More than 8 million Americans with diabetes rely on insulin. CVS Caremark calls the allegation simply wrong, Optum calls it a baseless action, and Cigna says the FTC doesn't understand drug pricing. Bad Bunny is out with his first new song of the year, marking the 7th anniversary of Hurricane Maria, which devastated Puerto Rico. In Entitled Una Velita, or Little Candle, the superstar sings about lighting a candle for the people affected by the hurricane and how the island's infrastructure still hasn't recovered from the deadly disaster amid political turmoil.
Actor, comedian, and activist John Leguizamo is perhaps best known for his hit one-man shows, fan favorites like Ghetto Clown and Latin History for Morons on Broadway. He's kept audiences entertained for decades and is now amplifying his advocacy for the Latino community with the new 3-part PBS series, American Historia, The Untold History of Latinos. Arash Singh sat down with Leguizamo as part of our special Hispanic Heritage Month coverage.
John, thank you so much for making the time, man.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting, man.
Yeah, I feel that. I appreciate you making the time sitting down with us. You actually begin your new project, American Historia, talking about your childhood in Jackson Heights, Queens.
I learned the same history that they taught kids all over America, that George Washington cut down his cherry tree, that Ben Franklin flew his kite, and Abe was honest. Guess what was missing? Us. The Latino contributions to this country.
It's one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the United States.
Literally
is.
Documented to be the most diverse place in the world, literally.
Yet you still got the same American history as the rest of the country. Mm-hmm. Did you feel overlooked growing up?
You know, I didn't understand how overlooked that was. I think that came to me later in life as I did more research, because I assumed that we Latinos had contributed nothing, because that's what I was taught in my history textbooks, that's what I saw on the History Channel, that's what I saw in movies.
People tend to forget that Latinos were here long before the United States existed.
Most of the history we're still taught is from the point of view of the conquistadors who tried to wipe out any trace of advanced indigenous cultures to justify their massive theft of our New World wealth. And then when I started doing research and found out that we're the only ethnic group to have fought in every single war America's ever had, this is insane. How come this wasn't in my history textbooks? I would have felt very differently about myself and would have accepted a lot less abuse and rejection and exclusion. Maybe that's why it's not in the history textbooks.
Beyond the personal revelation, what inspired you to actually tell this 3-part series?
Because I found so much information that America needs to know. Because Latin history is American history. And I think when people see this show and understand how much we contributed to the making of this country, it will change your perception of yourself and the way others see you.
What can people watching this who are not from the Latino community learn about the Latino contributions to this country and the community as it stands today?
Well, I mean, when you see the show and you realize that we came from great empires, some of the biggest empires that the world had ever seen, the Aztec, the Inca, and the Maya. So just that fact alone. And then other things like, you know, I didn't realize that traqueros, Latin people, built the rest of the railroad after our Asian brothers and sisters got kicked out. We finished the whole railroad all the way to the Pacific and built all the infrastructure for the Southwest and the West. And then this myth that we just got here, that we're just getting, we've been here since 1492 and before thousands of years with our empires.
One of the things that I found so fascinating, especially from that first episode, is you diving into the Incans' rich history with surgery and just talking about, look, if so many Latino kids knew that we had this history with medicine, where could we be today? Was a part of this project leaning into introducing the next generation of your community to their forefathers?
Absolutely. I mean, I want every Latin kid to feel like they're important, that they matter, that they have validity, and that they can do anything they set their minds to, just like their ancestors did.
We see you traveling throughout the United States, all the way to places like Teotihuacan, to walk places that your community literally walked thousands of years ago.
We didn't dig the subway tunnels of New York until about 100 years ago. 2,000 years earlier, the original scientists and rulers of Teotihuacan built a series of tunnels dozens of feet beneath the ground without the use of machinery or power tools. These tunnels connected chambers holding treasures long forgotten until they were unearthed in 2003. It was a groundbreaking discovery that changed our perception of the civilization that once thrived here.
What was it like revisiting that?
I've always wondered, if we've been here since 1492 and before, why aren't we at the top of the food chain? And then when you look at the history and you realize how much oppression we dealt with. You know, we're the only ethnic group that was almost nearly genocided. Our culture was destroyed, our language and our history, and yet we are so resilient. That's our superpower.
This is not your first time discussing and recontextualizing Latino history in the context of the United States and the world. I mean, you had your Tony-nominated play, Latino History for Morons. What inspired you to continue this conversation, and what were some challenges moving this from the stage to the big screen?
Well, you know, I mean, on stage, I only had a certain amount of time to talk about the Latino contributions because they're massive, massive. This was the right platform for it. This is not as humorous. This is much more serious.
What do you want the world to know about your community?
How incredibly resilient we are, how inventive. We contributed so much to the making of the U.S., and we want our credit now. That, you know, we were colonized and conquested, so everything was taken from us, so we didn't get a chance to get the credit we deserve, but now is a time for us to take our credit back.
And John, it's the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. How do we make sure, yes.
Wepa.
How do we make sure to keep this conversation going and push the conversation forward?
Oh, that's a great question. I think what we got to do is make sure that we see the show, get the books, keep talking to your children. Dinner time is a great time to bring up all these great stories that we have and to keep them alive in the community. That's the way we do it. We have to produce our own stuff. We have to fight against systemic racism in America and get to those places that we deserve.
John Leguizamo, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you, my pleasure, man.
Really
Thank you for having
appreciate
me.
it, and congratulations on the project.
Much love, much love.
Much love, man.
Our thanks to Ashen. American Historia, The Untold History of Latinos, premieres September 27th on PBS and will air on consecutive Fridays. That's our show for this hour. I'm Phil Lipoff. Stay with ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. And coming up in the next hour, Israel launches another day of deadly attacks on Lebanon, plus pint-sized prodigy meet the tiny painter, hosting exhibits and selling masterpieces for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It was a regular day for 19-year-old Melissa Witt.
She went to meet her mom at a bowling church league, but she never makes it into the bowling alley. Something terrible had happened to her. Melissa was a good kid. She had big dreams for her life.
And then she disappears.
My gut knew this was not a young girl who just took off and ran away.
New information into the disappearance of Melissa Witt. Pools of blood were found by detectives.
We were sick to our stomachs.
I just love to have her back more than anything in the world.
It is a heart-wrenching day for the family of 19-year-old Melissa Witt.
Police found the body in the Ozark National Forest.
You had several suspects.
All these kinds of leads. Who could have done this?
You have a known serial killer in your area.
Could he be involved?
Find the evidence, find the DNA profile.
We had to find that person. Time was of the essence.
Every blood spot matters. Every piece of DNA matters. You're looking for that game-changing piece.
We're actually finding key evidence that could have slipped through the cracks.
One of our guys says, you're going to see this.
There's another one.
What could be underneath these headstones? Her last hours on this earth were probably the most horrific a person can experience.
This beautiful young girl. Police will find out what happened.
At Wit's End, the hunt for a killer. Now streaming only on Hulu. More Americans choose ABC News, America's #1 news source.
How many elephants have you killed?
True natural beauty, one of the last of its kind. But this comes at a cost. 5 countries, 5 incredible real stories of adventure, danger
We have to go.
and deceit.
Where are we going next?
We got this ongoing search for the animal we've been trying to find. These are the last lands. The national parks around the world that have to be saved.
There.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News live.
Good evening. I'm Phil Lipoff in tonight for Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are going to begin with the race for the White House. 46 days now until the election and the increasing fight in those critical battleground states with in-person early voting now underway in parts of this country. Vice President Harris making an emotional appeal in Atlanta, telling the story of a Georgia woman who she says died as a result of that state's strict abortion ban. Former President Trump, meantime, heading to must-win North Carolina, even as scandals swirls around the Republican candidate for governor there, Mark Robinson, who Trump has praised as better than Martin Luther King Jr. Mary Bruce tonight leads us off from Washington.
Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris in battleground Georgia, a state that is putting a new spotlight on one of her campaign's key issues, abortion.
This is a health care crisis, and Donald Trump is the architect of this crisis.
Former President Donald Trump has boasted of appointing 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade. Georgia then implemented a law banning abortion at 6 weeks before most women even know they're pregnant. Harris today shining a light on the death of 28-year-old mother Amber Thurman, pointing to a ProPublica report saying she is the first woman known to lose her life as a result of Georgia's abortion ban.
We will speak her name, Amber Nicole Thurman. Amber Nicole Thurman.
Amber Nicole Thurman. After a medication abortion out of state was incomplete, Thurman suffered a grave infection. Her doctors waited 20 hours to operate. By then, it was too late, and she died. Overnight, Harris meeting with Thurman's mother at an event hosted by Oprah Winfrey.
I want y'all to know Amber was not a statistic. She was loved by a family, a strong family. And we would have done whatever to get my baby, our baby, the help that she needed.
I'm just so sorry.
Today, Harris blasting Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, as hypocrites.
The other folks, Trump and his running mate, and they'll talk about, oh, well, yeah, but I do believe in the exception to save the mother's life. Okay, all right, let's break that down, shall we? Let's break that down. We're saying that we're going to create public policy that says that a doctor, a healthcare provider, will only kick in to give the care that somebody needs if they're about to die? Think about what we are saying right now.
Harris arguing Thurman's death may be the first we are hearing of, but it won't be the last.
We knew this could happen. There is a word preventable, and there is another word, predictable.
Mary Bruce from the nation's capital tonight. Meantime, former President Trump heads to North Carolina tomorrow amid the growing scandal involving that state's Republican candidate for governor, Mark Robinson. Trump once calling him Martin Luther King on steroids. Here's Rachel Scott.
Former President Donald Trump preparing to head to North Carolina, a long-planned rally in a must-win state. But it comes as scandal swirls around Trump's chosen candidate for North Carolina governor, Republican Mark Robinson. Trump has heaped praise on Robinson.
I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2.
And tonight, Trump is standing by the candidate, even as CNN reports Robinson made a series of racist and inflammatory online posts, including one where he called himself a, quote, black Nazi. ABC News has not independently confirmed the reporting. CNN says Robinson made the comments between 2008 and 2012 on a pornographic website.
The Republican, who was railed against transgender Americans, also allegedly posted about watching transgender pornography, calling himself, quote, a perv. And according to CNN, Robinson wrote that slavery is not bad, adding he wished it would come back. Robinson calls the report tabloid trash.
Those are not the words of Mark Robinson.
After the story broke, the Trump campaign releasing a statement calling North Carolina a vital part of their plan to win back the White House.
Thank you.
But no mention at all of Mark Robinson. And as of tonight, Trump has not withdrawn his endorsement. The Harris campaign quick to highlight their connection in a new ad.
I've been with him a lot. I've gotten to know him, and he's outstanding.
Donald Trump and Mark Robinson. They're both wrong for North Carolina.
Our thanks to Rachel Scott reporting in tonight. Next, the major escalation between Israel and the terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israeli airstrikes taking out one of Hezbollah's most senior members in a densely packed neighborhood. At least 14 people killed, dozens more injured. Here's Martha Raddatz.
Tonight in Lebanon's capital city, a targeted strike. Israeli warplanes launching missiles into the heart of Hezbollah territory. The dead, including one of the militant group's top commanders. Ibrahim Akil was a member of the group's Islamic Jihad organization, wanted by the U.S. for his role in the massive bombings of the American Embassy and Marine Corps barracks in the Lebanese capital back in 1983.
This is the worst attack there has ever been against the United States in the Middle East.
More than 300 Americans were killed in the bombings. The strike today reducing this Beirut block to smoking rubble. Rescue workers digging through the remains of flattened buildings. Our Marcus Moore in Beirut.
This strike happened just before rush hour here in Beirut, and it marks the third major attack on a civilian part of the city just this week.
According to Lebanese officials, at least 14 were killed, dozens more injured, the deadliest direct strike by Israel in Lebanon since October 7th. The Israeli Defense Forces claiming to have eliminated other top Hezbollah operators who were hiding out underground. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warning in a statement today, our goals are clear and our actions speak for themselves. But earlier, Hezbollah launched its own strikes, air raid sirens sounding in northern Israel, with more than 100 rockets fired from Lebanon, a show of force by the militant group, crippled after this week's explosive attacks on their communications devices.
Our thanks to Martha Raddatz. Back here in the U.S., the sheriff charged in the murder of a judge in Kentucky. That news breaking just as we came on the air about 24 hours ago. Authorities say the sheriff shot the judge multiple times in his chambers. Here's Faith Abube.
Tonight, a tight-knit Kentucky community shaken. Its sheriff now charged with murder, accused of fatally shooting a judge in his chambers after an argument.
That's Letcher County Courthouse. That shot's fired.
Authorities rushing to the Letcher County Courthouse southeast of Lexington, Kentucky, just before 3 p.m. Thursday, finding 54-year-old District Court Judge Kevin Mullins shot multiple times.
Life-saving measures were taken. However, we're unsuccessful.
Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins arrested without incident. Tonight, he's facing one count of first-degree murder. The motive still unclear.
We know that it was an argument between the two that led up, but what exactly transpired prior to the shots being fired, still things that we're trying to get answers to.
The sheriff, a former bailiff in the judge's courtroom.
Mickey and Kevin were really close and good friends. I never saw any hostilities between them.
Just 3 days before the shooting, the sheriff deposed in a federal lawsuit a former inmate accusing him of failing to adequately train and supervise a deputy who sexually abused her in 2021 in the judge's chamber. The complaint does not allege the judge was aware or did anything wrong. The county's prosecutor recusing his office from the case, saying the judge was a former brother-in-law whom his children called Unky.
I always thought he was very witty. He was fun to be around outside of court.
Faith Abube, thank you. Ahead of the first House task force hearing next week, the acting head of the Secret Service today blaming his own agency for a litany of failures that allowed a gunman to fire at former President Trump in July. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, a damning new internal report from the Secret Service revealing extraordinary communication and planning failures leading up to the attempted assassination of former President Trump in Pennsylvania. and a stunning admission of a lack of diligence by the Secret Service.
There was complacency on the part of others that led to a breach of security protocols.
Acting Director Ronald Rowe admitting agents never had a plan to secure the roof of a nearby building with a clear line of sight on Trump.
Yeah, look, there he is.
And never heard in real time local police radio traffic that the suspect was identified with a gun on that roof.
So there was a lack of clarity that that roof should be secure, period, full stop.
There was discussion about how the roof was going to be secured, and I think what it came back to is we should have challenged how that mechanism was being implemented, meaning we should have been more direct.
But tonight, Rowe praising agents who protected former President Trump over the weekend in Florida during the second apparent attempt on his life.
It appears that those agents, those supervisors, made swift decisions and made correct decisions.
Our thanks to Pierre Thomas tonight. There is still much more to get to. Torrential rain in Nigeria is now driving up food prices. Plus, the second gentleman opening up to our Michael Strahan.
Baywatch is a fantasy.
Baywatch was sexy.
Baywatch was the #1 show in the world. It was hot. When you hear that theme song,
I had no idea how much fun I was going to have.
It was addicting. People were just hungry. They were eating that stuff alive.
it was a wild time, and I was a wild chick.
Everyone tuned in to watch the show because you knew you were going to see someone sexy.
I mean, everybody was pretty.
Not just white women can look hot and sexy. Anyone can do it.
Jason Momoa exploded off of Baywatch.
Carmen was a bombshell who had something to say.
Pamela Anderson was an icon.
Pamela was this sweet girl from Canada who came to get the American dream.
I'm really proud of everything I've done. Almost.
Baywatch was a whirlwind of epic highs and bitter lows.
It was a lot of pressure.
They had to wear next to nothing.
You want me to wear this?
What?
He with the best abs wins, or she with the best boobs win.
They just wanted to put you under a microscope and see where your flaws are.
Everybody was disposable, and if you didn't fit into their brand, you were gone.
Baywatch empowered me. Every now and then it hurt me. But so do the people and the things we love. I need to take a break, okay?
Greed and lust, fame.
It's crazy.
It changed everything.
It was about pushing the envelope.
Iconic. So hot.
Everyone likes to watch sexy things.
Reporting from the 2024 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, I'm Kira Phillips. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back. We are tracking several headlines around the world at this hour. We'll start in Nigeria, where residents are bracing for more flooding as neighboring Cameroon has had no choice but to open up its dam of the Benue River. Heavy rain in Western and Central Africa has already displaced millions of people and triggered a food crisis there. And now flooding is sweeping Nigeria's breadbasket states, destroying farms and further driving up food prices. Venezuela's opposition leader, Edmundo Gonzalez, is speaking out, telling Reuters in an exclusive interview that he sought refuge in Spain after he was warned that President Nicolas Maduro's security forces were coming for him. His party insists Gonzalez was the real winner of the July presidential election in Venezuela. He said he risked being jailed or tortured if he stayed. And you know how they say art is in the eye of the beholder? Well, a 3-year-old German boy has become an artistic sensation. His acrylic paintings bringing in up to $325,000. He started painting about a year ago and is producing a masterpiece a week on average. He is now hosting his first ever art exhibition, and his parents say it will be his decision whether or not he wants to keep on painting. Beautiful. All right, now to an ABC exclusive. Michael Strahan speaking with Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, about everything from his wife and family to the economy and to those childless cat lady comments.
With just 46 days until voters take to the polls, Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff has been on the trail supporting his wife, Vice President Kamala Harris, as she campaigns to be the next president.
This was like an iconic spot in the neighborhood.
Now, the Second Gentleman is back in his hometown of Matawan, New Jersey, revisiting his childhood haunts.
So when you were a kid and you used to sit here at the counter thinking about your aspirations of the future, what did you think you wanted to do?
I think I'd come back here one day as Second Gentleman. No, it was, we talked about sports. We talked about, what we wanted to do when we grew up. And you can ask my friends, I was like, I want to be a lawyer. I always knew.
But you've always said how special New Jersey is to you. Why is New Jersey special to you?
New Jersey, it's about, loyalty. It's about family. It's about sticking up for each other. It's about being strong, not taking any crap.
There are still a lot of voters out there that said, we need to know more about Vice President Harris. What do you say to them about who she is?
In my DNC speech, I called her the joyful warrior. So it's the joyful part, my wife, the one who's there for our family is going to be there for your families, but she's also the warrior. And I think Donald Trump got the warrior part up on that debate stage. She's somebody who spent her entire life for the people. Donald Trump has spent his entire life for himself.
60 days ago, President Biden made the decision to step aside, and you're thrust into even a brighter spotlight than you were before. So how have things changed for you in the past 2 months?
Oh, not much, No, it's been a whirlwind. And that day, when President Biden decided to step aside on the campaign, I mean, she got up there and stepped up. Like, we needed a leader, and she stepped into the breach. And it's like she is the best, most badass version of the Kamala Harris who we know and I love very much.
We've heard the childless cat lady quote, and just this week, Governor Sanders of Arkansas said, quote, "My kids keep me humble. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble." How do you react to a comment like that?
Yeah, it's appalling for somebody who is in a position of leadership like the governor to say something so repulsive and so out of touch. Not only on the one, mispronouncing her name, which is disrespectful. She knows what her name is. And then two, as if you need to have your own biological children to be humble, but then to say as if women should be humble. And you can see the pushback even from within her own party, because it's a repulsive thing to say.
Vice President Harris is stepmom to 30-year-old Cole and 25-year-old Ella from the Second Gentleman's first marriage to Kirsten Emhoff.
But it's been something to watch, speaking of family, to see your kids step up, to see your ex-wife step up.
Yeah, we roll hard together. That's who we are. And, Kirsten has been incredible. When you attack Kamala, especially on issues about motherhood, Kirsten has just been out there each and every time just to tell the truth about who Kamala is, as a mother, as a person, as a member of our family, again, who's always there for us, and she's going to be there for your family.
And so when it comes to running a country and some of the problems out there that need to be solved, and it need to be seen, what do you say to those who say, how is she going to be different from what we've seen with President Biden?
So on the economy, we're going to continue to expand, infrastructure, the CHIPS Act, bring the chips manufacturing in here, this transition into clean energy. And on the infrastructure piece, you're seeing the effect just driving around the country, bridges, roads, tunnels, airports, broadband. So all of that is going to continue and expand. She's also talking about specifics that are going to help everyday Americans with more housing, child tax credit, opening small businesses.
So for those who may criticize and say, well, she hasn't done that her 3.5 years in office as vice president, do you think that's unfair?
Yeah, she's the vice president, not the president. So, the vice president is there as part of the administration, not leading the administration. So as president, she's going to be able to put forth her policies and plans and effectuate those.
And if you become first gentleman, what would that say about, defining the gender role and about masculinity?
A man supporting a woman and lifting up a woman, it's the right thing to do. And when some woman succeeds, it's not like some man somewhere is not succeeding. There's like this binary thinking where it's either or. No, it's both. When we lift up women, we lift up all of society.
You worked as years as a litigator, and you actually worked a case for my company back in the day. So what is it like for you to take a break from a career that you not only excelled at, but how was it for you to find your new identity in all of this?
So I miss it. I miss it. There was a lot of action in it, but being able to be second gentleman and hopefully first gentleman, there's so much to do. And so it really was a way to satisfy that curiosity I have, that work ethic.
The work ethic he says he learned growing up here.
So how did it feel to come back to the house?
Oh, man, it's so surreal.
Memories from his past still visible today.
My brother Andy did this on this light post, and this has now been there for 40-some-odd years. And so he did the AE and this. So he asked me to look. Andy, I'm looking. It's still there, brother.
As he looks toward the future.
And we know that you and the vice president are turning 60.
No, don't say that.
I know. Do you have any plans for that?
Yeah, win the election.
All right, Michael, thank you for that. And still to come, multi-platinum artist Callum Scott is here in studio to talk about his new song and his upcoming tour.
After Israel's targeted bombings against Hezbollah Sunday morning, Martha Raddatz reports from Tel Aviv, plus the political threat environment following the second Trump assassination attempt, now with just 6 weeks to Election Day, Sunday on ABC's This Week.
The question is, why was Matthew Perry doing ketamine? How did he get it? And who is to blame for his death?
In the case of Matthew Perry, it was kind of the perfect storm.
In September and October of 2023, he was getting 6 to 8 shots of ketamine a day.
5 people, including 2 doctors and Matthew Perry's personal assistant, all arrested.
These were 2 trained physicians.
Do you feel responsible for Matthew Perry's death?
The suspect's part of a broad underground criminal network.
The focus of this case right now is really on Dr. Placencia and Jasveen Sangha. They are not pleading guilty like the others.
Do you know why she was given the name Ketamine Queen?
She sold 50 vials in 2 weeks to Mr. Perry. They talk about exploiting Mr. Perry. They write, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay."
Matthew Perry was a money stream for everybody involved.
It is very odd to live in a world where if you died, it would shock people, but surprise no one.
What Happened to Matthew Perry, the season premiere of Impact by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu. You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Live reporting, breaking new exclusives. Keep streaming with ABC News Live. ABC's David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast. ABC News Live, honored with 8 Emmy nominations, more than any other streaming news network. And ABC News Live Prime with Linsey Davis, the first and only streaming show nominated for Best Outstanding Live News Program. This is ABC News Live.
Multi-platinum artist and songwriter Callum Scott has headlined tours around the world, released 2 albums, tons of singles, and amassed more than 10 billion streams globally. Now his new single, Roots, is out, and next month he will embark on his Songbook So Far tour of North America. With Roots, Scott reminds his fans that the most nostalgic, feel-good moments in life are totally worth holding on to. Take a listen.
Takes me to my roots like a dizzy summer bloom, got me thinking about you.
Yeah, he's that good. And by the way, there is an acoustic version of this song that is amazing too. Callum Scott joins us now in studio. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it. The new song is very cool. You talk about this feeling in Roots, and it's a feeling that I think everybody loves, everybody's had. Is it something you are thinking about in the past, or something you are looking forward to in the future?
Great question. I feel like I'm thinking about it at all times. My roots are what makes me, and that for me is my family and my friends and my hometown, and they keep me very grounded. So it's something that is constantly like omnipresent in my life and my roots. And it's funny because we actually started trying to write the song as a ballad. We was trying to write a heartbreaking lyric. I'm like, let's get the cello out, let's get a heartbreak, let's get the tissues, like. But then it was just so difficult to write something like that. It was sunny outside, which was rare for the UK. And we just ended up writing about our childhood and nostalgia, and you know, and we recorded this song, and I'm so glad because it shows my versatility yet again, I think.
Yeah, and I do like the acoustic version of it.
Thank you.
You toured recently with Ed Sheeran. Yeah. What was that like?
I mean, awful.
Yeah, terrible. Never do it again.
Never do it again. What a horrible man. He is such a sweetheart. He is everything that you would expect him to be. He's been a mentor to me. He's been a friend. He has shared the stage with me. He brought me out to sing You Are the Reason on his set for the last 3 months of our touring together.
Mind-blowing, right?
Honestly, and he gets me to take my ears out and just listening to the crowd and to be present in front of 70,000 people and just hear them singing my song back is like Harry Potter kind of magic, you know? Crazy.
You're about to embark on this tour.
Yes.
I'm wondering what you want, because you have such a wide range, what you want your fans to take away from this tour and what you're most looking forward to about it.
I think for me, the Songbook So Far tour is a celebration of the work that I've done and then sprinkles of the work that I'm currently working on. But for me, I never thought I'd even have an album, let alone 2 albums, working on a 3rd, having toured with Ed Sheeran and all of the evolution of my artistry so far. So for me, the Songbook So Far is really special. It's like my little baby.
You like to do these snippets behind the scenes looks. What is that about? It's like a video diary. Why do you do that?
I just want to show people what it's like, because I think people see the kind of what's in front of the curtain. You know, they see what we put on for the show, but rarely do people get a chance to be able to look beyond and see what we get up to whilst we're on the road and touring and the tour bus and how stupid stuff we do backstage. And I just want to show people that I am just as normal and as happy-go-lucky as everybody else, and you know, I just like to have fun.
You've been teasing My World.
Yes,
right?
yes, the new single.
So everybody's talking about that. Tell me, what can you tell me about it?
So My World is a return back to the ballad. You know, I've been releasing features like with Jax Jones, Kygo, Lost Frequencies, and that's kind of influenced this new kind of evolution of my music, of the pop banger. But I wanted to get back to something that hits people in the chest, you know? This song talks about kind of wanting to make right the wrongs of the past and saying somebody like, you are everything to me. I can do that quite well. I guess I'm well versed in making people cry in a good way.
Well, you know what it is? It's the writing is there, right? The writing's solid, but your voice, I think, is what does it.
Thank you very much. I mean, as long as I can keep people's tears in their eyes, that for me is a success.
It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in, and best of luck with the tour.
Thank you.
And you can check out Callum's new single, Roots. It's out now, and the rest of his musical discography, wherever you stream your music. And that's our show for tonight. What a great way to end it, right? I'm Phil Lipoff. ABC News Live is here for you all night with the latest news, context, and analysis. You can always find us on Hulu, Roku, Pluto TV, the ABC News app, and, of course, abcnews.com. Have a great night.
There was a specific moment during our wedding. I looked at Jason, I looked at my children, and I realized this was